Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is another paid request, this time for Brian. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics, randomness, out of the blueness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And it could be reaction, commentary, review, randomness, ranked list, whatever it may be. But this is for Brian, like I said, and he wanted my thoughts on Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't delved as much to the Children of the Corn franchise as others have. Because I like the first Children of the Corn, but it's nothing I ever loved. It's not a film I'd give like 5 out of 5 stars, but I like it. Like the first Children of the Corn, I'd probably give it like, I don't know, 3 out of 5. I mean, I liked the music, at least the main theme. I liked the actors. I thought the people that played Isaac and Malachi, I thought they worked very well to be the creepy kids. Outlander, we have your woman. I thought they picked the right actors for those roles. It was cool to see Linda Hamilton in an early role. This is around the first Terminator era for her. I even didn't mind the guy, Graz, because he's the same guy that was in the TV show that I wish lasted longer called Brimstone. But I didn't mind the film. Yeah, it didn't have a lot of gore. Yeah, the direction was nothing to run home about. But yeah, I never read the short story by Stephen King. I didn't mind the idea. And I was entertained enough by the film. And you didn't need sequels. You didn't need a franchise. Especially a franchise that has lasted what? How many fucking films are there? 6, 7, 11? Because I know there's this one, which is directed by David Price, who I guess before this directed To Die For 2. And no relation to not the To Die For with Nicole Kidman. This is a different horror To Die For. There was a sequel. This guy directed it. They said, "Oh, nice job. Do another sequel." Because this is when Miramax had Dimension, and Dimension said, I think it's around that time where, hey, we want to do these, direct-to-video. Well, this actually went theatrical, but these lower budget sequels. So you had Hellraiser 3. I think maybe it was Miramax Dimension. I know later, eventually they'd be Dimension, the Hellraiser sequels and Children of Corn sequel. But I can't, whatever, fuck, doesn't matter. But there was this movie that the last one to go into theaters, and then you had Children of Corn 3, 4, 5, 666, Isaac's Return, 7, I think is Revelation. There's another one. That might have been one of those that was made just to keep the rights. Kind of like Hellraiser Revelations was. I know there's another one. There's one remake in like 2009. So, Isaac's Return. I think one was called like Revelations or something. I mean, well, or I might think of Hellraiser Revelation. I can't fuck. Then I know there's another one, and there's a remake. And then I think they made another one. I'm like, wow, they made another one after that too? And they made one that came out 2020. Directed by Kurt Wimmer. Dude, you did Equilibrium. My favorite Trisha Bale film. With the gun kata. What the fuck happened, Kurt Wimmer? You went from doing gun kata with Christian Bale and Equilibrium, you did a fucking 11th, 10th Children of the Corn film? That I didn't hear a fucking soul talk about? Did it even get released? Because I didn't hear a fucking word about a 2020 Children of the Corn movie. And again, the guy did Equilibrium? Directed it? What the fuck? What the fuck? Why are there so goddamn many of these movies? This movie wasn't even that great. I don't hate it because it was a time waster at best. I know the later ones would be much, much worse. There's one improvement this has over the first film. It has more creativity in the kills. Because the first Children of the Corn is a bloodless movie. I'll give you that. That's why I said the first Children of the Corn needed a bit more visceralness and intensity and gore. But I still like that film. This one, I didn't care for the music. I thought the music was a huge step down from the first. The story, the bodies in Gatlin, Nebraska, in the first film are found. There's a big news hub, controversy, all that shit. So the kids that were left behind, they get adopted by this other town. I'm like, no. If there's over like 50 fucking bodies there, you need to call like the FBI, and these kids need to be taken to some other fucking quarantine and talked to infinite number of times. And I'm sorry, when you're not sure what the fuck killed all these parents and adults and only the kids are left, I'm like there's this old woman that was the smartest person in the movie. Which, ironic enough, she was one of the first to die. But it's like, they murdered their parents. I'm like, she's the one who makes sense. But while that's happening, this father and son who are not getting along. The father's played by Terence Knox, and I knew he looked familiar. He was the star of this TV show I remember back in the day called Tour of Duty. Tour of Duty was a Vietnam TV show that I remember because when it first debuted, it had the opening theme painted black by the Rolling Stones. Now, granted, later on they changed it because of that's more copyright. So they changed it to more of a generic title music. But if you look hard enough, I think like on the DVD, they didn't want to pay for painted black, so they just put the other title. But you could still find places that have the painted black, which to me fit better. Because come on, painted black, great song, one of my favorite songs from the Rolling Stones. Painted. I think that was the first time I ever heard that song. Actually, was on that TV show. But yeah, it was a Vietnam TV show. That I think, Terence Knox was the star. I think you had, what's his name? Juana Man. He was in Friday the 13th Part 5. He was in Return of the Living Dead. Miguel Nunez. I think he was on that show. Now I'm thinking of Tour of Duty. It lasted a couple years. But I don't know exactly how many. But he's the star of this film. I mean, not the best actor, but I could deal with him with what he was given. His son, same thing. I could deal with what he was given. I've seen much, much worse. They did in this town because Terence Knox is a reporter. Looked into the story. Meanwhile, these other two reporters, they get killed because they get tricked into going to a cornfield. Then this crappy looking effect of a storm happens and all this wind happens, and I guess one guy gets his neck slit by corn, like a stalk of corn like slit his neck. Although that would have been pretty funny if the corn, can you imagine if a corn stalk like walked like the candlestick in Beauty and the Beast and walked over and the corn had no eyes, just as corn, like looked around and it doesn't do that, but I kind of wish it did that and went for go for broke, but it didn't. But that'd be pretty damn funny if it was like again. Think of the candlestick motherfucker from Beauty and the Beast. Again, imagine him, but just corn, and he was a murderous motherfucker, no face, but just just walked away. I guess maybe in my version, Children of Corn too. The final suckitude. The suffering succotage. But, like I said, some of the death scenes are fun and laughable. There's this one old lady, her wheelchair gets controlled, and she gets hit by a bus, and it's, a dummy in the wheelchair, and you see it fly through a window, and then this is into a bingo hall, and someone looks around and picks up his card, bingo. So it's played for humor. One person is in a church, and because one of the kids made a voodoo doll, the guy's nose and eyes bleed. One woman gets a house crushed on her, which is it's not gory. It just, you see it coming down. Then cuts to her legs outside, and they literally do a Wizard of Oz reference. Because the woman, before she dies, literally says, "What a world! What a world!" And then the house crushes, and then her legs like, da, 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 da. Then you don't see blood, but I'm like, okay, director, are you going for a parody or not? I'm like, you're referencing Wizard of Oz. You have someone crush and their legs kicked in, and they're, what a world. You have a woman get bounced off into to a window, and someone goes bingo after they must have seen the dead woman in a wheelchair. So I'm like, are you going for a parody or are you going not? And meanwhile, the Terence Knox's son is talking with our villain Micah, and Micah, I thought he was a lousy villain. People are like, you sure this isn't a rant? It's just, I know the later sequels are way worse. I know they are. And this, at least, there's enough semblance of cinematography to show that maybe there's I can't even say there was a lot of money put into it, but because there are times I'm like, this went to theaters? I don't know, I know there's worse. And it went at a fast enough pace, and I didn't get that bored with it. But Micah's just not as good of a villain as Isaac's and Malachi. And that kid gets possessed by the demon. And then Terence Knox is investigating because he's a reporter. And he comes across this doctor named Dr. Red Bear, a Native American. I did like some of his dialogue. Because he's talking very, the spirits and the winds and all this stuff. But then when he gets in the truck and then he talks, he was like, well, or maybe these kids just went apeshit and killed everybody. I liked that line. But they put the subplot that I don't know why this was put into it. A subplot where there's this toxic mold, and apparently the people in this town worked with someone, and that's why they have this toxic mold, and it affected people. It might have affected the kids. And also maybe this pissed off the land, and that's why the land, I guess he who walks behind the rose or whatever, got pissed because of this toxic mold, and Mother Nature isn't in balance. And I went, why? What is this? Why is this subplot needed? The toxic mold, it's not affecting the adults. The kids, it could cause hallucinations. I'm like, we know it's not hallucinations. We know this is the demon stuff. There's never any doubt that, well, maybe it's not demon stuff. Maybe it is this toxic mold that's made people hallucinate and make them think of this and that. It's like, that's never comes into question. Especially when you have, that's not this movie's fault, but you have, even in this film, at the end, a character dies and we see his spirit go off into the spirit world, asshole. We can't see him. But I guess they put the toxic mold in there just to be like, well, this is what pissed off the entity. So I guess they didn't revenge, but then get revenge on the people that did it. Why does that still make it where the kids want to kill all the adults when not all the adults are guilty? And that's in this town. I guess that was also happening in Gatlin as well. If it was happening here, why didn't it happen in this town first? Instead of Gatlin first? But I don't know. I don't know why we need that subplot in there in the first place. It didn't offer anything. It just made things more confusing. So I guess in a way this is kind of a rant, but it's like a mild rant, so I'm not even going to put rant on the title. I'm not a big fan of the movie. I've seen much worse sequels. I've seen much worse films. The characters, I mean, again, to repeat myself, Terence Knox is there as a reporter. His son is there. His son falls in love with a girl who's a local in the town. Terence Knox falls in love with this lady who owns this place. And the lady, I remember she was in this film called Ticks, which I like that film a lot more than this. She's one of the people that took the kids into the woods in Ticks for a retreat. To help these kids that have things are going on in their lives and have a retreat in the woods. She's in this, and apparently her and Terrence Knox, the actor, did not get along with each other at all. Shout out to Good Bad Flicks, who did an episode of this, and he's a very knowledgeable guy, makes great videos, and you can check out Good Bad Flicks. Like I said, the death scenes at least do have a little bit more visceralness. Like I said, the guy bleeding to death, even his eyes are bleeding, and there's a doctor that gets stabbed with syringes. There's a little bit more of a feel of a body count in this compared to the first one. And again, you get some laughs, like the wheelchair death. The ending, I actually like the ending in the first one more, because yeah, the effects were not that good, but still felt like a bigger ending where, yeah, we didn't see much of the creature, but there was still a creature there. Here is just, our characters are tied up. One of the characters has a tractor, and our lead villain gets pushed into this tractor thing and gets sucked up. I don't know, it just seems like much more of a mundane finale compared to the first film. Although I do remember the third movie having some pretty gory effects in it. But I found it funny that really, other than one or two other kids, most of those kids just got off. Well, not that way. They got away. And then our characters going, well, what's going to happen to those kids? Well, we'll just have to write the story. Number one, who's going to believe your story? Number two, those kids are still fucking around the core, and they do go to another town and kill them too. Shouldn't you stop them as soon as fucking possible? But again, this is called The Final Sacrifice, so apparently this is supposed to be the final one. But obviously not, since they made like 9 more. So at the end of the day, like I say, it was short enough, 80-some minutes long. It wasn't really that boring. The acting was serviceable compared to a lot of other movies I've seen. Yeah, remember, I've seen Neil Breen films. I've seen The Time Machine that's in a fucking garage sale, whatever the hell the title was. Not The Time Machine, the good ones. I mean, the full title was The Time Machine Found at a Garage Sale, whatever the hell it was called. Yeah, I've seen some crap. So, this is like more of a, sadly, more fresh air compared to that. Like kind of mediocre. Again, it's except for a couple funny kills. Take that for you will. But yeah, the musical score I thought was a downgrade from the first. Like the first, I liked the theme. The main theme at the beginning, I thought really set a mood to it. Yeah, it's more of a slow build, but I understood it there because it's outsiders find out about this town. It's the first movie. You know, you have this ghost town. What's happening? I actually like that approach. But it makes sense not to do it here because we already know what's going on. So I think some people would like this because they would feel it moves at a faster pace. But again, it's like The villains are not nearly as good. I felt they were kind of lame. The cast, meh. The story, again, useless subplot about this toxic mold. Just a lot of issues I had with it, so I'm not really big on it. But with that said, there's a lot worse sequels out there. Go watch like Hellraiser Revelations or a lot of other stuff. So, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.